God is good all the time. Good to have you. Welcome. We got a full house today. Welcome to Tuesday Bible study. It's good to see you. My name is Pastor Mike. If you don't know, it's a blessing to be a part of this congregation. If you're joining us online, wherever you are and whatever day you are watching this, hello, and we hope that you have a wonderful, blessed day as well. Let's pray. God above, we give thanks for modern medicine, for the ways that we can help you heal this healing body. Lord, we just lift up those that we lifted up, and we just ask for your care and consideration and your comfort for those who need a little bit more love, a little bit more healing, a little bit more comfort, and a little bit more of you. Bless the words that we read today. May they touch us as well to help us become more like your Son, Jesus. In your Son's name we pray. Amen. Friends, we are in Matthew chapter 18. If you got your own Bibles and you're wondering where that's at, it's after Matthew 17 and before Matthew 19. It's one of our Gospels. How many Gospels do we have? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Did you know that there are a lot of other Gospels out there? The Gospel of Mary, the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Philip, the Gospel of a whole bunch of other disciples. And when they were making the Bible, they chose these four as best representative of who Jesus is. So if you ever hear about the Gospel of Thomas, it's out there. A lot of these Gospels have a little bit different take on some of the stories of Jesus. But these are the ones that we know of that they voted on that says this is who we believe best represents Jesus and what would become of the church. So let's jump in. We're going to do we're going to take big chunks today. Verses 1 through 9.
The greatest in the kingdom of heaven. At that time the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Who then is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" He called a little child to him and placed a child among them, and he said, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever takes the lowly position of this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven, and whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me." Causing to stumble. If anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, it will be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea. Woe to the world because of the things that cause people to stumble. Such things must come, but woe to the person through whom they come. If your hand or your foot causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to enter life maimed or crippled than to have 2 hands or 2 feet and be thrown into eternal fire. And if your eye causes you to stumble, gouge it out and throw it away. It is better for you to enter life with 1 eye than to have 2 eyes and to be thrown into the fire of hell.
Who's the greatest? All the disciples. Who's the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? Did you ever have that question from one of your kids? Who do you love more? Mom or dad, who do you love more? And of course, the answer that every parent gives is, I love you all the same. Which is a lie. It's a lie. Nah, I know you love them all the same, but every now and then one makes it tough and one makes it easy. Or maybe if one has a bad day, you love that one more that day. One gets dumped by their significant other. You love that one more that one day. Yeah, but somehow it all evens out. Yes, there are days that I'm looking at my kids like, which one do I want to move in with someday? And we already have our answer, but we haven't told them. Well, the disciples were concerned about this question of greatness, which is weird because these are fishermen, tax collector, rabble. They seem to ask this question thinking that Jesus had already chosen one of them as the greatest, or as if they wanted Jesus to decide among them. This comes up a couple times in the Gospels. And it's like them just saying, let's just have Jesus settle this. The disciples wanted to know who would hold the highest position in this. Jesus talked about the kingdom of heaven. Jesus, who's going to sit at your right hand? Who's going to be your right-hand man? And I don't think they knew what they were asking, because the kingdom of heaven is not so much a government. It's not so much offices of authority. But Jesus would go on to say, you got to serve. The last shall be first, the first shall be last. Jesus kind of throws everything up on its head all the time. And he does so here. Who is the greatest? And so he looked around and all right, who is the least among these? And he picked out a kid. A kid in that culture was property. They were nothing. You might have loved them, but really, in society's views, they didn't matter until they were old enough to work, old enough to do their thing. It tells us something about Peter, too. You might remember a couple chapters ago, Peter, on you I will build my church. And I could just imagine them asking, who is the greatest? And Peter kind of going, I'm waiting to hear my name. Jesus picked a kid out of the crowd. There's an old tradition, I don't know if it's true or not because it's just tradition, that this child, the one they picked, grew up to be Ignatius of Antioch, which that means absolutely nothing to anybody except for maybe Fred. Is Fred in? Where's Fred? Oh, it's Fred. Oh, there's Fred. Have you ever heard of Ignatius of Antioch? Nope. All right. Became a bishop later on, like 100 to 120 AD, somewhere in there. And he grew up to be this bishop who'd be later killed by an emperor, of course. But unless you become like a little child, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. And this is probably a great disappointment to the disciples. I don't want to be a kid. I don't want to be treated like a kid. And I think Jesus was saying this, you need to have a humble place to enter the kingdom. The first shall be last and the last shall be first. I remember taking charge of this youth group at a church years ago, and we had we would do trips, and the tradition was when I got there that the seniors would watch the freshmen load up the vans, and the freshmen would do everything, and the seniors and the juniors, they just kind of watched. We did it when we were freshmen, and for whatever reason, after a couple years, the older kids were there, but the freshmen dropped out. The sophomores dropped, like, enough of this. And so we had a come to Jesus meeting that says, all right, seniors, guess what? You guys get to load the van. If you're a senior and you want to be in leadership, you have to serve. A couple of them balked, like, I already did my time. I don't need they need a cook. No, we flipped the script. And it was amazing because once the seniors started doing it, the freshmen stuck around. Right? They weren't the low people on the totem pole. I know a lot of schools do this for bands or for soccer, football, whatever. There you don't really have a choice because you got to go to school. Church was optional. But once the freshmen learned that, hey, maybe someday I'll get to be a senior and I get to help the younger people. Got to be a pretty cool thing. Got to be like a child. Give me some attributes of a child that you think might help understand why a child gets to go to heaven. Innocence. You have to be innocent like children. Trustworthy. Or just trust. Honest, innocent, submissive, curious. We lose our curiosity as we get older. Yep. Not pretentious, right? Not full. They're not full of themselves yet. Oh, I was telling someone a story this morning of my second church that I was at. I was there for several years, and then I got called to start a church somewhere else. So I went to go start that church somewhere else about an hour and a half away. About 6-7 months later, there was an event at a campsite on a Sunday that I had to go to, so I got to skip a Sunday there, and I went back to the campsite that was right next to my church that I just left. And so I thought, I'll sneak in, I'll say hi, I'm not supposed to do this, but I'll just sneak into worship. So I got to worship to the church I just left 6 months back. And at the meet and greet time, I'm like, hello, Joan, how are you? She goes, huh? You look familiar. I'm like, oh, I was your pastor for many years. Oh yeah. How are you? I go, our self-importance goes, right? Yeah. Humble there's an old song, humble thyself in the sight of the Lord, back from the 70s. You're too young to remember the 70s. All right. Okay. Humbleness, curiosity, joy, all those things. I remember flying in an airplane with my younger brother. I had been in planes a lot, going here, there, and everywhere, but this is my younger brother, first time ever flying in a plane. And the kid was excited and jovial, looking outside. Like, he just had this excitement that I did not have. And it just, he's looking at me like, we are 30,000 feet in the air. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, I know he's excited. My goal is to have a very boring flight. I want a boring flight. If your flight's exciting, you don't want to be on it. But he had this excitement that I somehow lost along the way. Millstones. What's a millstone? Big round stones? Big rock? Yeah, usually got a hole somewhere in the middle so it can rotate around. The fact that it has a hole, the fact that you can put a rope through it and tie your splash. Jesus is not. He just gets right to it. If you cause one of these little children to sin, it is better for you not to be here. Later on, there's a story about sheep and goats. And I just want to make sure I'm in the right line when I get there. I don't want to be a goat. I want to be a sheep. I don't want a millstone hung around my neck, drowned in the depths of the sea. Drowning in the depths of the sea, it's usually not a form of execution that we have nowadays. There are, like 5 ways that we execute people in the U.S. Electric chair, hanging, firing squad, lethal injection. I swear there's another one. Gas chamber? Maybe gas chamber. Yeah. Drowning is not one of them. 2,000 years ago, drowning was an option. Tie a rock, chuck you in. We don't even have to bury you. It's kind of self-fulfilling. We have it in our collective conscience of how do pirates get rid of bad people that they don't like? Walk the plank, right? There you go. It's drowning and they're sharks, and that's that. The Romans, that was one way that they executed people, was by drowning. The Jewish people did not do it at all. Freaked them out. Because if they believed in the afterlife or the judgment, there was a thing where you get your body back. And so they would take care of the body the best they could. Now they know that eventually it turns to dust and there's bones, but cremation, not on the table. Because how are you supposed to come back if you're ash? How are you supposed to come back if you're in the bottom of the sea? So that was unthinkable and caused to be fear of. Jesus kind of throws out the worst case scenario. It's better for you to be at the bottom of the sea than to cause someone. Of course, we can't take Jesus' words at face value here, or we are all going to be eyeless, limbless, legless. Of course, it's all hyperbole, but I think he got his point across. Let's talk about wandering sheep, 10 to 14.
The parable of the wandering sheep. See that you do not despise one of these little ones, for I tell you that their angels in heaven always see the face of my Father in heaven. What do you think? If a man owns 100 sheep and one of them wanders away, will he not leave the 99 on the hills and go look for the one that wandered off? And if he finds it, truly I tell you, he is happier about that one sheep than about the 99 that did not wander off. In the same way, your Father in heaven is not willing that any of these little ones should perish.
Because God's mind's and eye is always on the little ones, we should treat them well with love and respect. God protects the humble. Question I always had was about their angels. Like the kids become angels, or each kid has guardian angels. I'm not sure which way this goes. Some of us put our guardians angels through a lot. Yeah. Angels are ministering spirits. We do Hebrews 1:14. We certainly have angels watching over us, but there is no need. It's plural. There's no need to limit it to only one specific guardian angel. Does he not leave the 99? Does this sound like a familiar parable to you? Yeah, it comes out of Luke chapter 15. Has a different. It's the same story, but with a different goal in mind, different aim. In this one, Jesus is like concerned just about the little ones, bring everyone in. The one in Luke 15, it goes with the story of the prodigal son. Does Jesus not leave the 99 and go off? Does the shepherd not go off and find the lost sheep until he finds it? Same with the lost coin. There's a lost coin in there. Doesn't a woman not sweep the house, search carefully until she finds it? When she finds it, she joyfully calls her friends and neighbors together and says, "Rejoice with me, I have found my lost coin." And then the third one is the parable of the prodigal. Prodigal goes off, blows the family fortune, realizes the folly of his ways, comes back home, and they throw the biggest party they'd ever seen. Although Luke throws in an older brother, but that's a different part of the story. Here, this one is not like a sinner that goes away and comes back. This is more of people who are lost in another way. Maybe not sinners, but like the children, the youth. Care and love for them. Some of you have been the lost sheep before. Some of you have been the 99. Care for our church, hopefully, is a warm heart, is anyone who comes in, whether they're that part of that 99 or whether they're rough around the edges. That they have a home and a place here.
Could it be taken that angels also could be us? I mean, could it be?
We could certainly extrapolate it that way. I don't. The word they use here is actual angel.
Actual angels.
But we could certainly minister to each other as well and care for these little ones.
Where did you go?
Oh, sorry, I was right behind you.
So when I was a kid, I used to think that angels were just people who were dead. You die, you get to be an angel. If you want to take the book seriously, angels are their own created beings. They're a little less than God, a little more than us, I think is what Romans 8 says. But in God's eyes, we are greater than the angels. Heirs of the kingdom. And the angels are ministering spirits. We don't serve angels. We don't pray to angels. Angels are there to help us. Let's do verses 15 through 20, that little section.
Dealing with the sin in the church. If your brother or sister sins, go point out their fault, just between the two of you. If they listen to you, you have won them over. But if they will not listen, take one or two others along, so that every matter may be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. If they still refuse to listen, tell it to the church. And if they refuse to listen even to the church, treat them as you would a pagan or a tax collector. Truly I tell you, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Again, truly I tell you that if 2 of you on earth agree about anything they ask for, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. For there 2 or 3 gather in my name, there I am with them.
Famous line right there at the end. It is essential that we go to the offending brother first, not griping, not gossiping. I probably told you this before. I had a church that said, we don't gossip here. We just have openly prayer requests. It would be wrong for anyone to take Jesus' word here as a command to go gripe to your brother or sister with every sin they commit against you. This is not a license to go and just berate other people about things that you don't like, okay? The Bible also says we should bear with one another and be long-suffering towards each other. And yet clearly there are some things that we cannot suffer long with and must address. I don't know about you, but I don't like confrontation. I avoid it probably in an unhealthy way. My wife, she grew up in a family that loved confrontation. That was their love language. And so when we got together, something would happen, she would get animated and I would shut down, which would make her even mad even more, and I would retreat even more. And after about 3 or 4 years of this, I'm like, we got to figure this out. Because she thinks I don't care, and I think she's gone off the deep end. But that's the family she grew up in. I grew up in a family where I never saw my parents fight. They would go off in a car and talk about the whatever, and they would come back at us as a united front, which was not fair. But that also meant we didn't see how adults fix things. So we both had unhealthy ways of handling things. And we talked to people, we talked to couples, we read books, we figured it out, and somehow God bless, we're still together 28 years later. I'm surprised myself. She's gotten better and I've gotten better, so it works. But I still don't like confrontation. And so when I read this, I'm like, oh man, do I have to? But sometimes there are things that you just got to call out and just this. How are we going to fix this? He used a word in here, which is a unique word because it's not around yet. If they refuse to listen, tell it to the what's church? There is no church yet. Oh, no. Just a couple chapters ago, Jesus told Peter, on you I will build my church. And I can see Peter going, great. What's a church? Build a people. Build a people. The word that they use is ecclesia, which means gathering, a group united in common purpose. We get the word church also from the Greek kyriake, which I don't know how it turns to church, but it does. It means place of the Lord. Jesus is not talking about a building, he's talking about a people. Tell it to the people. And if they even refuse to listen to the collective body, Jesus is starting, basically, he's taking a small group, and how do we grow this thing bigger? And how do we all get along? And how do we handle people who don't want to get along? I think I told this story here a week or two ago where my first year here, I had someone in my office with a clipboard of all the things I was doing wrong. And some of them I like, I can see that. And some of them are like, but they came with a second person because you come with two. They came from a more conservative background, I think. And anyway, it's all water under the bridge. But also my job as pastor is to listen to the congregation. What are your needs? If I just come in here telling you this is how it is, I'm not going to be pastor here long. We're in service together. Treat them like a heathen or a tax collector. Ouch. The unrepentant. The thing is that this person is unrepentant. And no consensus can be can be found. The whole hope is reconciliation. Forgiveness is one thing. Forgiveness is one person, offering up a healing. Reconciliation is when both people open up, and we might not see eye to eye. We might not agree, but we can at least get along. I wish Washington had a little bit more reconciliation. I wish some of our families had a little bit more reconciliation. I wish I had sometimes a little bit more reconciliation. Some churches really believe in the whole shunning thing. Mennonite, big time. You are dead to me. We watched the movie Fiddler on the Roof. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I'm going to spoil it for you, but the thing's 40 years old, so you should have seen it by now. At the he has several daughters, and they each kind of marry a little farther out from the community than he'd like. And the last one marries someone who is so far out of the community that this daughter is dead to us. Don't even say her name. And it just kind of breaks your heart. I don't know if I could ever pull that off, but I didn't grow up like that either. LDS might do this a little, not so much shunning, but there's kind of an in or out. Excommunication. We Methodists, there's in our book of discipline, there's actually we can excommunicate people. I have never heard of it being done. Usually, if people figure out this faith community is not for me, I need to find another one. I hope and pray that we don't have shunning or anything of the like. But Jesus puts that as an option. Sometimes people for the good of the body.
Verse 20. Sometimes if I'm talking to people and ask them where they go to church or anything like that, and they say, well, we just have God with us all the time, or we go in the mountains and God is there. And I tell them, I said, where two or more are gathered together in my name, not just because you're there, but because you're there in his name. And so I relied on that for a few times, and I feel kind of an important verse.
You can worship God anywhere. But yeah, when you're gathered in a name, there's an intentionality to it. I got a brother who loves hunting, and Mike, I'm worshiping in God's creation, out hunting. And I'm like, by blowing away his creation. I see how you are, but yeah, just and quartered it, and away you go. Nothing against hunting; it's fine, but don't call it worship. Worship is supposed to make you feel closer to God, and I get being outdoors can do that because you see God's creation, but there's also there's also prayer in there. There's offertory, there's sacrifice, there's community, there's togetherness. It's all the worship stuff wrapped up. Where two or three are gathered in my name. There's real power in agreement and prayer in the presence of Jesus. In ancient Greek, the word agree, we get the word symphony from it. Symphonize. We get symphony. Instruments that are in agreement with each other. We call it a symphony. They don't play the same notes. They all don't do the same thing, but they're in harmony with each other. That's the Greek word that they're using here for agreement. Yeah. Large numbers, not essential. Rank of people, not essential. Particular place, not essential. Particular time, not essential. Particular form of the meeting, not essential. Where two or three are gathered. That's enough. Big bite, but it's one story. 21 to the end.
The parable of the unmerciful servant. Then Peter came to Jesus and asked, "How many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who sins against me? Up to 7 times?" Jesus answered, "I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times." Therefore the kingdom of heaven is like a king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. As he began the settlement, a man who owed him 10,000 bags of gold was brought to him. Since he was not able to pay, the master ordered that he and his wife and his children and all he had to be sold to repay the debt. At this, the servant fell on his knees before him. "Be patient with me," he begged, "and I will pay back everything." The servant's master took pity on him and canceled the debt and let him go. But when that servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 silver coins. He grabbed him and began to choke him. "Pay back what you owe me," he demanded. His fellow servant fell to his knees and begged, "Please be patient with me and I will pay it back." But he refused. Instead, he went off and had the man thrown in prison until he could pay the debt. When the other servants saw what had happened, they were outraged and went and told their master everything that had happened. When the master called the servant in, "You wicked servant," he said, "I canceled all that debt of yours because you begged me to. Shouldn't you have had mercy on your fellow servant just as I had on you?" In anger, his master handed him over to the jailers to be tortured until he should pay back all he owed. This is how my heavenly Father will treat each of you unless you forgive your brother or sister from your heart.
Parable. Luke is filled with parables. Matthew just has a couple, but this takes up a third of a chapter here. How many times to forgive? Up to 7. The rabbis at the time said 3. 3 is the most. You fooled me once, shame on you. You fooled me twice, shame on me. The rabbis throw in an extra 3. Peter throws out a ludicrous number of 7. And Jesus just buries it. Not 7. 77. Which, of course, is also just hyperbole. If you get to 78, Jesus said, you're just going to keep forgiving, right? If Jesus said up to 490, we don't get to count, and at 491, then forget it. The king in this parable expected his servants to be faithful and honorable, and he examined their work, settled accounts. How many bags of gold? 10,000 bags of gold. That is insane amount of money. Okay? 10,000 talents, I think in another Bible verse. We're talking anywhere, depending on the weight, we're 12 million to $1 billion. It is astronomical. Okay? The figure clearly represents just an unpayable debt. You're all going to get sold. I'm not going to get close to what I want, but this is a little bit of restitution and a little bit of justice. Master, have patience. I will pay you all. And the disciples had to laugh at this. If I owed someone $1 billion and I said, just give me some more time, that ain't going to happen, right? One of his fellow servants owed him 100 denarii, 100 days' wages. It's not a small amount, but it is doable. It is 1/600,000th of what the debt owed to the master by the first servant. And he took him by the throat. The Greek word is throttle, just throttled. Have patience, and I will pay you all. And of course, there's no mention in the parable of the first servant's conscience bothering him about his conduct. It was actually the other servants, right? While the other servants saw what happened, they were outraged and told the master everything. Principle's clear. God has forgiven such a great debt that any debt owed to us is just insignificant in comparison. So the little things done to us, can we forgive for the great forgiveness that God has given to us? Jesus taught us an important lesson about forgiveness. We should be far quicker to forgive than God is. because we stand as forgiven sinners who must also forgive. The big question that Jesus came to solve is the question of sin. I think I brought this up 3 Sundays ago. Much of the Jewish life was based in how do we fix relationships. A lot of our holidays are based in how do we fix relationships. How do we atone for this? How do we sacrifice for that? How do we fix our relationship with God, with each other? Jesus came to fix sin. And he's teaching us how to forgive each other. If you're a person who never forgives, it's a long life, because everybody's going to mess you over sometime. Every little thing. My daughter's driving to school in the morning. She has her learner's permit, and I'm right there. And there are times that there's a car far off, and she just waits. I'm like, you can go. Like, yeah. After about a week of like, you got time. Yesterday, she starts going, and there's this, good guts, go. We're about to die. Like, we pulled out, and like I was waiting for the horn and the tires, and she's freaked out, and she wants to stop the car. Like, you can't stop. You gotta go. Dad, do you think they're gonna forgive me? Like, I hope so. I don't know what the other alternative is. Just when we stop at the stoplight, make sure we're not eye to eye with them. Like, you know.